Hello, folks. This is Bob Minai, Executive Director at Verizon Business for Communication Services, Product Management, and Product Development. I've also got here with me Roberta McIntosh, Director of the Communication Services, particularly the Unified Communications and Collaboration team that has been leading the charge with all of the good services that we're going to be talking to you about today. So we've got a presentation we've put together for you that kind of starts with a kind of a definition of how we view unified communications and collaboration. And there's a lot of definitions out there, and so we'll kind of give you our view, and then kind of start talking to you a little bit about how Verizon's view has kind of manifested itself in the kind of the solutions that we've put together for our enterprise customers. And then we'll get into a demo at the very end of the presentation, which I think will give you a kind of a better feel for how the service will actually come to life within your enterprise realm. So on the first slide, what is UC&C? And so for those of you that may not have heard about this term or know enough about it, it's pretty simple and straightforward, although as I said, there are a lot of different kind of versions of the definition out there. For us, it simply means taking a lot of the existing communications tools, infrastructure, and products that are out there and kind of coming up with a solution-oriented approach to putting them together in order to enhance productivity and serve business results, business objectives for the enterprise in a better way than we do today. As you know, within the enterprise, there are a number of different kind of competing applications, and that number is just proliferating on a daily basis. And so everything from call control, presence, instant messaging, voicemail, conferencing, collaboration, mobility, even business process integration, all of those are kind of up to this point have always been kind of disparate elements with some integration on individual kind of parts of the solution, but nothing really to kind of bring together the entire solution as one holistic experience that makes it much, much simpler for the enterprise user to use. So if we move on to the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about kind of what the enterprise situation is today as we see it. So as you see kind of illustrated on this slide, enterprises typically have a number of different service providers. And even if they have a single service provider, usually still the products or services that they purchase are dealt with on almost a siloed basis. So you have your wireline provider, your wireless provider. Typically, a lot of enterprises, particularly larger ones, deal directly with their CPE providers. And then you also have system integrators or VARs that are kind of working at the application layer to a large degree. And so all of these are kind of very disparate elements. And from a user perspective, you can see all of these different touch points. So I have my mobile phone. I may have a video phone, or we have our conferencing solution perhaps. I have the phone on my desk. I deal with email every day. And you can see the list. And so what we do is from our point of view, we kind of view the class of unified communications as everything that you see here from the voice to video. And then when we say collaboration, really what we're talking about is the document sharing, which has become more prevalent lately with sharing your documents during meetings to make things a lot easier. And now advanced collaboration is something that we expect to continue to take off. It's really been led in the kind of consumer space, but we expect a lot of those efficiencies and successes that we've seen in kind of enabling people to do a better job of networking together, sharing information, particularly pertinent information, and having it surface appropriately based on filters that the users can set. All that type of collaboration that's going right now in the social media space, we expect to realize a lot of those gains in the enterprise space as well going forward. And then, of course, you've got systems like SAP as an example, and other kind of vertically oriented applications, for example, that need to be kind of integrated with all these other pieces as well. So, you know, the picture is pretty gloomy or pretty complex, and what we'd like to do is make it a lot more simpler and straightforward by kind of aligning a lot of these and actually thinking through on the enterprise's behalf of how these different pieces of the overall solution should work together so that we have a seamless package that not only can be sold together, build together, but more importantly, from a user perspective, seamlessly operates together so that they don't really have to manage all of the piece parts separately and have any overlap with the functionality between the different parts. So if we move on to the next slide, unified communications and collaboration is a great idea, and a lot of folks are enterprise customers that we talk to say, hey, that's great, I want to move in that direction, but I'm not sure I'm ready yet because I've got a lot of investment already kind of that I've made over the years, and it's a significant investment, and I'm not prepared to kind of move off of that quite yet. And so really the story that we try to paint is that really this migration needs to happen over time. And the solutions that we put together are very much kind of built with that purpose in mind. It would be naive to think that an enterprise doesn't already have, in some cases, its own voicemail platform or its own email platform or its own PBXs that are kind of already kind of deployed at some of their larger sites or any of their sites for that matter. And so really the approach that we need to take with building these solutions is to take very much of a kind of a realistic approach and knowing that migration to IP exclusively is going to happen over time, but we want to be able to leverage the investment. So we're deploying cloud-based services, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, to help our enterprise customers deploy voice services and collaboration services while still being able to kind of leverage their existing investment in premise-based. And so the idea here is that, over time, the premise-based solutions may not be as prevalent. We have a solution right now to offer through the cloud to manage a lot of these services, but the reality is that there's going to be some hybrid that for the foreseeable future, so we have to make sure that everything works together very well. So at this point, I'll kind of pass it over to Roberta, who will take you through the rest of the presentation.
So let us define a little bit about what cloud means when you're speaking from a unified communications and collaboration perspective. When we think about unified communications and collaboration in the cloud, we really think about it in a true consumption-based model. So instead of in the traditional CapEx approach where you purchase equipment, you buy it for your entire enterprise, you pay for licenses for the entire enterprise, and whether you use all of the functionality or not, you have essentially like a site license to utilize those capabilities. This is a different world in which you, on a per-user basis, you can define what functionality or what package elements that customers want to leverage or end users want to leverage. So within this space, you really want to understand your user profiles. You want to understand what they're doing now, what they need, who they correspond with and work with, and help them define their work practices so that you can really tailor the right packages for them. And then, the environments that we've created will enable you to adjust if those work changes. I mean, whether it's that today I'm working with a team that's all co-located in my same location, and tomorrow I'm working with a team that's distributed geographically and, with some of the staff in India or China. Those are very real examples that we see everywhere in the enterprise space. It's integrated in that, as Bob pointed out, the unification of these applications is what makes it UCC. So the ability to interwork those applications together and also integrate it with your existing environment in that hybrid nature we spoke about. Depending on the type of the customer, particularly at the enterprise level, it needs to be flexible. We need to make sure that we offer an environment that can be tailored to an enterprise. So, many of the enterprise have a profile where you would have purchased a premise environment where you have complete control over that environment and you can tailor it to your specific needs. Well, if you're going to move to the cloud, you need that same kind of flexibility in that environment. And as an enterprise, you're not going to move to an environment that removes that kind of flexibility. And then finally, solutions focus. So take away the bespoke product or capability viewpoint and really bring it together as a solution so that it is ordered that way, it's serviced that way, it's managed in an entirely collaborative customer experience. So let's take a look at the kinds of applications we're speaking of. and look at them when you think about communications in the cloud. This environment is still anchored in some of the traditional worlds. Because you're speaking about communications, whether you're a B2B or B2C kind of business, you are going to have some correspondents you need to speak to that are still on the traditional TDM world. And as such, although IP is a great enabler, you still need to have links with the traditional TDM world. And as such, whether it's IP or TDM, service providers have obligations and requirements to meet many of the laws, both compliance and regulatory rules, and they're defined by country to be able to properly service communications needs. And so, it's really buyer beware. Make sure that as you're looking at your service providers, you are evaluating them in a manner that they can service you both in the new IP world and in the traditional world, because there are still laws and requirements and regulatory rules, et cetera, that must be adhered to even as we evolve the technology. One particular area that always comes home is the proper handling of 911. In the IP world, NPA and XXs, the area codes and phone numbers mean very little. It's a routing mechanism versus the traditional area code and phone number. However, it means a great deal when you're dialing 911. So if I am in my office and I'm registered as a person sitting in Washington, D.C., but I'm happen to be using my soft phone from a hotel in Washington State. If my soft phone does not handle 911 properly and knows that I'm now in Washington State because it either asks me to verify my location or somehow understands that I'm in a different location, then if you dial 911 from that soft phone, the call will be routed to wherever you're registered, unless you have the proper handling. So these are very key things when businesses and enterprises are thinking about collaboration or communications in the cloud, that you need to still make sure you're aware that the services that you're leveraging are properly managing the traditional and future communication needs of your business. So Verizon has a variety of offers, and these are a sampling of them, but we're going to take you through a couple of examples of what we have is unified communications and collaborations as a service, which is on the left, and what we have for our hosted IP-centric services on the right. And they are both very, very capable services addressing business needs. The Unified Communications Collaboration Service is more here to the larger enterprise for 1,000 users or more, and that's not a hard and fast rule. There could be users or enterprises that have less than that number that fit more of a profile of needing a dedicated solution. Having a solution that's very flexible to have it dedicated to your enterprise and be able to customize it to your enterprise. Having it integrated with your premise or cloud-based offering. So if you have existing premise environments that you want to have integrated within this cloud environment, this has the intelligence and capabilities to do it. And it is flexible, as I mentioned. It's running a solution that runs within the Verizon data centers, running and integrated within our IP comms infrastructure, leveraging VM-enabled applications, and a very robust management suite that supports both the hybrid nature of the environment, whether your users are on the cloud or on the premise. On the other hand, we have a hosted IP-centric service, which is, again, a capability that's in the cloud, hosted within Verizon's networks, distributed globally, but it is a more shared application, so it is a multi-tenant environment. The application layer is shared amongst the users utilizing that platform, and therefore it's a different. It definitely has a different price point. The hosted IP-centric environment is really a PBX in the cloud, but what we have done is we've leveraged toolbar capabilities as well as other cloud components like conferencing, et cetera, to be able to integrate the component elements of within an enterprise to be able to create a UCC experience. So it is a powerful call control set of capabilities that you can leverage your existing assets. Like if Exchange is the thing, Microsoft Email Exchange is the environment that your users sign on and utilize most frequently on a daily basis, you could have hosted IP-centrics working with Exchange via a toolbar and have them unified together. You can leverage Verizon's conferencing services to be able to also enable those to interwork together for both audio and web capabilities. So it is a very powerful but a very different kind of offering than the Unified Communications Collaboration Service. So let's take you a little bit more detail on each of those. The Unified Communications and Collaboration offering, as I mentioned, is cloud-based. It also could be hosted. We could create a private environment for you. So if an enterprise has security needs, architectural desires to still have a dedicated environment, we can bring a cloud-based, private cloud-based solution to you, still in a per-seat model, still in that flexible design and architecture that I mentioned, but the entire stack dedicated to an enterprise. We also have the cloud-based capabilities that would achieve the same objectives where the server layer, the VM-enabled server applications are actually shared amongst the enterprises, but the application is still dedicated. The capabilities that are available in this environment today are IP voice and PBX capabilities, and they are very robust range of capabilities. They are also providing fixed to mobile capabilities, such as if we were on this call and I needed to go and move to another meeting physically, I could transfer this call to that other meeting on a mobile device, any mobile device, any carrier, and you would not know that I've transferred the call. There would be no interrupt on the call. Conversely, if I was on a mobile phone and I wanted to come back to an office location, I can do that same transfer of a call to a fixed environment. So there are very robust IP voice and PBX capability features. Voicemail integration, so not only voicemail, but also voice-to-text capabilities. We have the point-to-point video. So if in the initial offering, the capabilities, if you have video-enabled phone and you want to speak to a colleague on a video-enabled phone, you would be able to not only speak to them but see them from their office location. And this is it sounds like a very easy application, but and one you can't really see the real application for. But I, for one, have this capability and utilize it regularly because my team, none of my staff is located in the same physical location as myself. So it is nice to still have that face-to-face contact with your staff members without actually being there, so to speak. I am in presence capabilities and soft phone capabilities, applications, extending these UC features and applications onto mobile devices, so SIP-enabled applications for Nokia, Android, and iPhone. The integration of audio conferencing. So if as part of the solution set, if a customer wants to have a per-seat price for audio conferencing in a bundle, we can make that available, as well as web conferencing capabilities. And then finally, software APIs, being able to integrate third-party applications. One of the most commonly requested is customers who have Exchange or Outlook or OCS, and they want that integrated into the environment. And it might be because they might want to consolidate their IM and presence environments, but they can't consolidate to one. They need to consolidate to two. So being able to not only integrate those environments in, but also be able to federate those environments. So if you have a IM and presence on this environment, but you have another IM presence within your enterprise, you can federate those capabilities both intra and inter enterprise. As you can see, that's a pretty powerful range of capabilities. On the other hand, we have the HIPC capability, and as I mentioned, we bring those capabilities of voice and voicemail, mobility from initially in the European countries, conferencing, and bring them together with the toolbar capability. So being able to integrate OCS and in the future same time, as well as Outlook, which is seems to be a very popular one with our customers. I, for one, when I walk into the office every day, the first thing you do is open up your email. And so that tends to be, in many enterprises around the world, an anchor application for most users. This is a very complex space, which Bob mentioned earlier, and transforming from your existing environment of bespoke applications to a unified environment takes planning and design. Being able to appropriately leverage your assets as you have them today and be able to make the most out of those existing assets whilst you're transforming is absolutely key for many enterprises. So, as part of this, it is integral to the environment is professional services capabilities, whether it's for specific workshops to assist in planning and defining the strategy, or actually assisting you in the design and integration work and how you want that environment set up. We can assist you with doing that, and we have found this to be absolutely key with many customers. These areas are complex. Bob showed a slide earlier, with the proliferation of mobile applications, with the diversity of the applications within enterprises because of mergers and acquisitions, because of the emotional state within user base of changing applications. You're touching their user behavior on a daily basis. Planning is absolutely key in evolving to a UCC environment. So having assistance and resources either for the end-to-end process or for being able to fill the gaps that your environment might not have resources to support, we can assist you with that. Finally, tying this all together, having the applications, having the capabilities, planning it appropriately is all well and good, but being able to have that collaborated customer experience so that from the point in which you want to learn about the environment to the point in which you want to understand what is going on with your environment and what is your invoicing and being able to cut and chop and change and report on that environment. Having a collaborated customer experience is absolutely key in our overall design and plan for this offering. We have always and have been leaders in bringing the capabilities of learn, manage, and bill to the enterprise marketplace through our Verizon Enterprise Center. But what we are adding on with this new environment is online capabilities to design, contract, and buy. Now, within larger enterprises, absolutely, it still requires that personal touch and having individual sales teams to work with clients, but having an online tool set to complement our on-the-ground staff to assist them in designing, planning, contracting, and the procurement of these environments is absolutely key. It also supports enterprises to, as they want to evolve their environment, move that changes, having a way to do that and having the control and power to do that in an efficient online manner is really where we see the vision of this environment going. So before we go forward, what I'm going to do is take you through a couple of little examples to show you a little demonstration of how this would work in a kind of a practice, day in the life of experience, and then we will open it up for questions. So first I'm going to take you through a couple of experiences on the unified communications and collaboration as a service environment. So in this scenario, or this start, there is a team of individuals that are working on they're working with a client, and they need to bring the engineers in to ask a question about some security. So the user, just Karen in this case, does a quick IM. We all have done it every day. Hey, do you have a second? I need to ask you a question. As the dialogue happens, what Karen finds out is the question is becoming a lot more complex, or the answer is becoming a lot more complex. We found it every day. When you talk to engineers, it usually takes a lot longer than you expect. And what happens is they need to now escalate that IM to a conference call. And what happens is instead of them going, what's your phone number? Oh, yeah, it's this number. Which office can I call you in? Should I call you on my mobile? What they do is all she has to do is click on the name of the individual she's been speaking to, and she can select the phone number that the individual indicates. So I want to be communicating on my mobile. In many cases, you wouldn't even have to do that because the user will have their preference of how they want communicated, and she'll just click on any of the numbers, and it will be routed to the appropriate device in which the engineer wanted to be communicated on. In this case, the engineer had a video phone. And so instead of just having an audio call, they actually had a video call, which obviously has audio in it as well. And this is a very seamless, easy conversation. Click on the name, escalate to a video call. As they're talking, they need to share some materials together. So what happens is they decide, well, let's open up a web conferencing session. So they just escalate to a web conference, they open it up, and they're both communicating. And now they need to bring a third engineer in. That third engineer happens to be on a mobile device. And the third engineer is brought into the conversation, comes into the web and audio and video call, and on his mobile device he's able to see the material that is being discussed. They're able to collaborate on the best way to communicate it to the client, and they're able to finish their session in a very efficient fashion. So it is, as you can see, it is without the normal efforts we go through to do an IM, share information to do a phone call or a conference call, whether it be find your mobile, get the phone number, look it up on your internal directory, escalating to a web conference, and then taking it further to adding in additional users. It's a very seamless process that demonstrates the unification of the applications. These capabilities overall are very powerful, and we have enjoyed speaking to our client base and the community at large on the advantages of unified communications and collaboration. The key tenets that we see that the enterprise and business market needs are flexible environments, cloud, dedicated and shared, and hybrid. Having it scalable, being able to consume it on in a consumption-based model versus a traditional OpEx model. Robust, fully featured capabilities, not the traditional capabilities of a few features that are added on the cloud, but the same capabilities as you would have a premise PBX in a cloud environment. Customizable, ability to really customize this environment and tailor it to the enterprise needs as you would have it in a premise environment. And a secure, obviously, in many layers. VM is only one area of security, housed in secure data centers, caged appropriately, and then the variety of levels of security within the network as well. And then finally, marrying the fixed and mobile world together. Being able to, this unified communications and collaboration is a fixed and mobile range of applications. And the marketplace as a whole expects that whether you're in a fixed world or a mobile world, that the applications that you have access to are available in a consistent and cohesive fashion on whatever device you choose to communicate. So that's it. Bob, do you want to close us out?
Yeah, so folks, that's the end of our slideware that we're presenting, but we'd love to hear from you and any questions that you might have. If you do have any questions, feel free to type them in and we can kind of address them verbally.
So we'll pause. We've seen a few questions come in. Somebody asked if the live presentations would be rerun during the day today, and the answer was the live presentations are archived throughout the day today and yesterday. That's the only one, I think, that has come through thus far. what is the pricing model? And I'd be happy to talk you through that directly, but it is a consumption-based model, so both of the solutions are per seat priced, and the price depends on which component elements or applications, and they're packaged in logical packages.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that, kind of just building on what Roberta's already said, we're trying to make this very kind of scalable for the enterprise, right? So, as we talked about, there's this whole kind of migration path, and in many cases, an enterprise is already kind of set with a lot of the existing infrastructure they've already invested in. But as they want to add new sites, or perhaps they decommission a PBX and want to kind of backfill it with some kind of hosted capabilities, or they want to expand their company to new regions. What we enable is being able to kind of just add seats on the fly, and as well as features for those seats. So we've kind of started with a base package of services that is pretty straightforward, and then there's multiple packages that you can kind of pick from as either the user's needs evolve, or as you might want to kind of mix and match between your current employee base.
Thanks, Bob. Great point. There are a couple of questions came on. I missed the first part. When is it stated to launch? The Unified Communications Collaboration Service is in beta right now, and we're going to a larger commercial in the summertime, June timeframe. Hosted IP-Centrics is available today. It's available in 11 countries, U.S. being one of them, of course, and then I could list them off for anybody who's interested in Europe. The Unified Communications and Collaboration Service will be available globally, but that expansion will probably occur into 2012. Next question is, what's your competitive edge compared to Avaya and other vendors' UC solutions? Well, the Avaya solutions today, and as we mentioned, is the Avaya solutions today are, many of them are premise-based environments. This is an environment that sits in the cloud, but can leverage both premise-based, so if customers have physical assets, for example, they have PBX in 5 locations and IP PBX in 5 locations, they want to continue using that IP PBX, and they want to leverage component elements from the cloud. So let's say their historical voicemail is going end of service, and they want to have voicemail from the cloud, but they want it married with their premise-based IP PBX. That is something that can happen with this environment. As I mentioned, it's a consumption-based model, so you don't have to have a full site license for all the applications to make them available for a few. It's per seat priced based on, as Bob noted, the packages that we spoke of. Let's see. Could you describe the infrastructure used for the UCaaS model? Oh, I'll be happy to. So the infrastructure is we are hosted within Verizon data centers. The physical applications, the server environment sits within Verizon's long-standing and award-winning IP comms infrastructure. So we are leveraging our IP trunking and IP communications, as well as our session border controller infrastructure within the environment. The environment sits on a shared server architecture, which is a UCS, Cisco UCS, and the applications are a combination of Cisco applications as well as third-party applications. For example, the soft phone is a third party, as well as Verizon-hosted applications like our conferencing capabilities. If you're interested and want to contact me separately, we can go into a little bit more detail with architecture. But given the wide-ranging audience on this call, we'll keep it at that level. Are you selling these services through your stores? No, we're not. These services are really targeted to medium business and large enterprises, which really require a dedicated sales force to work with them to not only help plan and design it, but fit it into their overall architectures. It's really not a consumer-based application. Is VMware the only supported virtualization technology at this time? Yes. Okay, we'll pause for a few more minutes and for a couple of other questions to come in.
All right, folks. Well, I think that we've pretty much covered all the questions. I encourage you to, if you have any questions, I think you can reach out to us via email. But otherwise, thanks for the opportunity to kind of lay out our plan. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.